Good morning and welcome in, everyone. Before we get into this morning's update, I'd like to go over a few different things that have happened in about the past 24 hours here in the cryptocurrency market. If you weren't in the live last night, this will be very important to listen to this first couple of minutes because there were a couple of things that, even after the live ended, we started to see more things that play into a possible recovery with XRP. But being in a thinly traded weekend, we don't exactly know when this recovery is going to happen. But I also have a empty chart that we're going to add to this as well. And I want to go back into the all-time chart, all the way back to 2014. I want to see exactly what XRP did in that first run up in 2014, then how it layered off until 2017-18, and then how it had the push back up in 21, again layered back down until 24, and now we're back up, and for the first time in XRP's history, which I find very interesting, it's consolidating above that $2 price level, and XRP's been running since 2014 when it was under a penny, and well under a penny, flip a few zeros, and now for the first time that I can remember, and I went back on the chart, I mean, we're actually consolidating over $2, which is, it's a remarkable feat to be seen. It's just, we get caught up so much in what's happened over the past 11 years, and you start watching the price action, and all of a sudden, you know, it hits you a little bit different because you're sitting here and you're like, well, you know, for the majority of the history here, we've been not just under a dollar, we've been under 50, 40, 30 cents, and so on and so forth. And, you know, it's a never-ending little game here that we've been playing, but this chart's not 100% empty. I'm going to empty it out, though. This was the initial, when we look back at this initially, we had, all right, well, how are we going to look at this to where it actually hits the cup? And we kind of went from the mid-tier, hit the mid-tier. So then if you look at it that way, I mean, you're still very much broken up. And I want to delete this whole thing. And the reason for that is as we go along, we'll go through the other charts, but as we go along, I want to show this perspective in the all-time realm. And we're going to go through and look at where we think the four waves have happened here since 2024 in November, and why we think a fifth wave is very much possible in this consolidation, and what needs to be seen, obviously, for this to happen, where we need to go, and where we need to eventually end up for this to actually play out through the 5-wave Elliott wave. And I think we're going to look at a very nice look there on that chart. And I'll box it off and stuff like that so you can see the exact supply zones, demand zones, and things like that, or the action areas, as we could call them. But before we get there, we've got to look at the short term. So we'll go start in the short term, and then we'll work our way into going all the way back to 2014 and try to see exactly how this layered out. If you are watching this morning, please make sure to hit that like button so that YouTube will recommend us through the algorithm. It's been a pretty chaotic thing lately with a lot not seeing my content even when you go to my channel. So the best way to try to figure it out is to hit that like button so it pops up in your news feed, share it, and turn that bell notification to all. Even if YouTube's not going to share it, at least give yourself a chance. And then in the video description below and or pinned comments of this video, all you have to do is look for my Telegram, and you can join. There's 261 people in there. I'll put it in openly today. And you'll be able to see when I go live or have an update just by having this in the content section. I always post my content, so even if YouTube doesn't show it, you have a way to see it. So with that being said, good morning. 7:17 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Sunday, April 27th, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. So this is going to be probably a 20-minute update. To get through all of this, I don't see any way to avoid it being a little bit longer. So we're going to approach it this way. So looking at it in the shortest possible way, XRP broke out of this very small consolidation. I know for some of you it's hard to follow because there's so much stuff on here, but there is a broadening wedge in here. So resistance 1, resistance 2, support 1, support 2, support 3. The two hits of resistance and support confirm the broadening wedge. Now it did form a separate type of pattern. We had a falling channel here, bounced outside of it, consolidated within, and now we're bouncing out. We still have a golden cross here in the 4-hourly. However, we bounced off of in the daily when we were having a bearish cross. We ended up holding through the 200, bounced back over. Now we're trying to revalidate a bullish push here. And you can't do that without the back test of the 200-day repeatedly until you kind of exhaust it. And then eventually you have the oomph to try to break through. We do have a nice reversal on the 4-hourly. Yes, we came down through, but one of the key things that happened here, and I don't know how many people noticed this morning, but this is massive. So when you have a golden cross, you have the 20 come through the 200. What is the key thing I always say to confirm that we have a golden cross? You want to see the 50-day moving average also pull through the 200-day resistance, or the 200-day moving average, I should say. In this case, it was resistance until we popped up. So the 20-day came through the 50, 100, 200, made a golden cross. The 50 came through the 100, and now the 200 and is being supported on it. That's a back test and validation of the golden cross, assuming this doesn't break through. And it was a good sign that at about 12 a.m., 1 a.m., that we managed to come down here, and we did not give it away. We did not give it away. So this is a great sign this morning. If we're looking for any kind of optimism, the optimism here is you still have the golden cross. And now not only did the 20 cross the 200 to validate, or I mean to at least signal a short-term trend reversal on the 4-hourly, now you have the 50-day moving average, which is in the orange, technically brownish orange. And that came through the 200, which is the dark blue line here. And now it's being validated as support. That is very bullish if this whole, I mean, like when I say bull, I mean super bullish. And it's only going to be able to consolidate out for a matter of time here. We're going to look at this, which will take it into a new perspective. This is the XRP market cap, but it's such a good way to look at it just because of the way this is set up and just the way that it fell through. So looking at all of these actually brings it together. So now we know we had the falling channel, which is there. We know we created an inverse head and shoulders. The right side took the second path, well, one of two paths, but it took the up path, created a descending triangle, broke out of it, back tested briefly, and now we're on the top end of this. If we can hold this, and I measured this yesterday, it just needs to hold that 214, 215 area, and that'll help that 50-day come through the 200, which it did. That's a huge signal. This is not a red flag. This is almost like the checkered flag for the finish line before the next wave up. Like, if this actually holds, we're going to be looking really good next week and into May. Now we do have the escrow dump on the 1st, so you know that's 4 days or 5 days away. So you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday would be the 31st. So on Friday, looks like Friday will be the Julius 31 days this month in April, or is it 30? I always forget April. But anyhow, so 30 days. So the 1st would be on Thursday then. Yeah, 28, 29, 30. Yeah, so the 1st will be on Thursday. So we'll have an escrow dump Thursday, but a lot of times we will see price appreciation just before we have price depreciation. So with all the signals here, we could very much say that we could very well have a bullish continuation here. And wave 4 could be pending. Now, we do know the alternative. If let's just say for whatever reason, we don't have the steam, we break down just so we can show the devil's advocate here of what could happen. Now, if you break down, you've got a couple different targets, and I think we should probably start. Let's see. Well, 202 would be a big section. You fall below that, then all of a sudden you have to come back into this realm. So if you fall below 193, then you've got 187 underneath, and then $1.77, which would be the bottom path of an inverse head and shoulders. But let me be very clear here. You don't want to be coming down now. We've already broken out. You come down here and it's going to create a possible head and shoulders here, and then it's going to invalidate that inverse head and shoulders if we come down too far. And if you break $1.77, there is no avoiding $1.50 in my opinion. Sure, you could come down to that $1.61 double bottom, but what value would it hold with this kind of a setup? You know, it almost would make us lose every kind of positivity we had within this momentous move. With Bitcoin, before we get into that other chart for XRP, Bitcoin's consolidated very nicely so far over the weekend. Obviously, this is the most difficult day to get past in thinly traded weekend. Sundays have been brutal for us over this entire year. Last week, we had kind of a neutral Sunday, which was nice to see. Some a little down, some a little up. Nothing major, nothing to write home about either way. But it was nice to at least see that we were able to kind of hold serve over the weekend without a significant drop. This weekend, we've been fine. We've just been consolidating sideways. We haven't moved up. We haven't moved down. This is exactly what I like to see. You don't have much money flowing one way or the other, and you allow some stability in the market, which means come Monday morning, if Sunday stays a little bit consolidatory like this, You're going to get a lot of people Monday morning that wake up and say, hey, you know, XRP was at like 218, 220 going into the weekend. It's still at 218 or 220 exiting the weekend. This is probably a good sign. We know they're not bashful about dropping it on the weekends. So then you might get a little bit of positive momentum built. With Bitcoin, as long as we hold 93,136, I mean, that's a beautiful area. And we came over the second of three supports or resistance and held that support to try to push the ultimate target of 99,631 out of this descending consolidation that broke out, descending triangle. It created inverse head and shoulders. It just never rounded. It just basically broke out just like XRP. So when I look at this, it appears to me XRP still back here. And then we shot out and created this for Bitcoin. Almost looks like XRP still in that, well, it's tough because it did break up, but it never made that big push. So here's where Bitcoin kind of broke out back to, you know, it's similar. It's just not as big of a move. It didn't look as big of a setup. So we're watching Bitcoin, so pay attention to those numbers. I think that's very important this morning on this Sunday. And, you know, we're waiting for the USA to wake up. I'm just up extremely early. Woke up at like 5:50. Sun's a little congested, but I'd say all things considering, I think he's doing pretty well. He's already has an appetite, which is good. But when we're looking at this, we know the USA on the East Coast wakes up at 8:30, 9 a.m. or 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We usually give a little grace on Sunday, so 10:30 a.m. And then Pacific Standard Time will wake up, you know, usually during the week we'll say 6:30 a.m., especially 6:30 because the trading week starts at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time right now. But on the weekend, we don't have markets trading except for crypto until later tonight when the futures opens, the gold and silver commodity or precious metals market comes back online, the DXY and things like that. But we don't have that 9:30 bell ringing that we know the stock market opens. We know that's when the big trading starts, the ETFs open, and that's when volatility will start raining in. So we don't have to worry about that. So I think the Pacific Standard Time, instead of saying, oh, they'll be up at 6:30, I think more like 7:38. So that's 7:30 to 8 a.m., you know, Pacific Standard Time. And then all of a sudden, 10:30, 11 Eastern Time, I think more people would be more awake. You know, a lot of people do go to church. Well, not a lot of people anymore, but some people do decide to go to church on Sunday mornings. So that plays into it as well. So you get closer to that noon hour, and then you can have some fireworks. But then it also depends on, you know, the institutions, the whales. And speaking of whales, before we get into the next chart, where I want to open it up back to 2014, I want to read through this just very quickly. So this is interesting. 838 million XRP in 24 hours. Market recovery imminent? XRP might see spike in recovery momentum sooner than expected. So after an incredible spike in on-chain activity, XRP has once again shown serious market potential. Over 838 million XRP tokens were transferred between accounts in a single day. A significant increase in network usage. Similar surges have frequently preceded notable price movements in the past, leaving traders and investors to question whether a wider market recovery is near. The asset is clearly having difficulty maintaining steady upward momentum, according to an analyst of XRP's price chart. XRP encountered significant resistance following a brief test of the 100-day exponential moving average, the EMA, and it has since been consolidating. The fact that the asset is held above the crucial support at about 215 in spite of these difficulties indicates that bulls are not giving up easily, and this is a great signal. And yes, I can understand the head and shoulders setup that's there. It's starting to elongate down in a falling channel, which is perfect. This is how you elevate to wave 5, assuming we don't fall flat. And we haven't so far. Not at all. Not even close. The unexpected increase in transaction volume suggests that the XRP ecosystem is becoming more active and popular. Increased network usage frequently indicates growing demand, which may result in more volatile prices, and if the momentum continues, a bullish breakout. There is, however, a crucial disclaimer. Even though transaction volume appears to be a bullish indicator, a price rally is not always guaranteed. Technically, XRP must convincingly break above the $2.22 resistance zone in order to prepare for a more robust upward move. A successful break would probably pave the way for the subsequent significant resistance levels, which are at $2.40 and even $2.60. As of right now, XRP is still in a critical testing range. The circumstances for a possible market recovery are becoming more favorable due to rising on-chain activity and comparatively steady price support. In the upcoming days, traders should keep a close eye on the price action and network metrics. But as usual, prudence is advised. It may not be long before XRP makes a full recovery if it can keep up this momentum and achieve a breakout. And it's huge during these weekends when we don't give it back. It really is. And like with the downward momentum a little bit, not much. I mean, we're still over that 215. What is the crypto fear and greed index showing? Just real quick. Man, that is way crazy. 53 in neutral. But we do have a nice W reversal. Like, this looks like we're going to get up into extreme greed here if this bullish Gartley plays out. I'm just calling it for what it is. We look like we're going to get way up there. So we'll see if it does play through in a positive trajectory. Now, before I leave, I want to go into that chart. Make sure you go in the video description below and our pinned comments. You can even go to my YouTube homepage if you feel more comfortable. Click on the BITUNIX link, and then it'll show you these different ways. L-Bank is where you can buy XRP healthcare. I highly encourage you to look at it, at least look through it. And if you want to buy XRP healthcare, it's there. There's a lot of things, like some people mentioned how like IOTA and some of these other ones, XDC, might be able to be found in the same place in the USA. So liquidity might be a little bit scarce at times, but it's a very valuable tool to use. BITUNIX is my preferred choice for XRP and some of the other ones. So we can swing trade, we can buy, sell, even leverage without the exorbitant fees. It's worldwide, no KYC or VPN. Even in the USA, they never got rid of XRP, even when the lawsuit started in 2020 until currently. So it's always been on the table. They have a license in the USA. It's a little bit different. They're not going to report the taxes. They don't have a send and receive from a bank account option. You have to send an asset from another exchange. So they're not cashing you out or providing you the deposit method from your bank. So, you know, you're going to have an alternative use to get back into your bank account if you want to send it off. So have an off ramp and things like that. PayPal, Cash App, Venmo if you want to send a donation. You can always join Tom's Army and for $9.99 a month, pay it forward if you so inclined. I've been doing this since March 24th of 2021. I'm proud to say over 4 years and 1 month, we have not missed a single day of doing any kind of shows, updates, and things like that. So it is very encouraging to see all the members of Tom's Army. So a special shout out to all of you. Thank you all so much. When you come in here, remember that positivity over negativity. We're helpful, not hurtful. We're kind, not rude. Because in a time that we live in right now, with all of this vulnerability and all of these people that are trying to make us feel negative and down on ourselves and all the negative energy, we're bringing the positive light back here. And we're going to be very positive. We're going to look at this the proper way, and we're going to stay emotionless. And I think yesterday's live was freaking beautiful. If you didn't see it yet, I want you guys to go watch it. See that energy and see how the crowd responded and how they interacted, and also led me into a favorable position. And then obviously I'd love to see some comments here. I'd love to see what you know and what you think about what we've talked about over this 20 minutes. And last but not least, my favorite part of this, if you made it through, is this chart. So we're going to go all the way back and we're going to start to box this off a little bit. So in the beginning, XRP up 1, right? Up 1, down 2, up 3, down 4, swing up. Actually, you could say 1, 2, 3. Fourth was corrective. Boom. 1, 2, 3. And then you do the same thing. You kind of up, correct. 1, 2, 3. Big wave 4 correction, swing up. So if I look at this properly, and and this is obviously we're looking at this quickly in the weekly. And we can divulge more into this in the live the next time we're live, probably tonight, but we'll see how it goes. So wave 1 to 2 to 3, you could almost say huge corrective wave. Or if you look at it in a slightly different way, we can go like this. And I think this lays credence because when you look at it all the way through for the years, up 1, down 2, oh no, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I already showed that version. There's another way to look at this because it could be one big move here and then a second would be down and then you'd have 4 coming up like 3 and then in the 4. But that whole wave around I think is like a big, almost like, all right. So that's what I'm trying to say. Let me get this box out. I think it'll be easier to show you if I do it like this. Nah, let me just draw it. I like to draw it. I think it, for me, I just like to draw it. I don't know why, I just do. So, up, down, up, around. But now you got this. This is your, let's just say this is your supply zone here after you come into wave 4 corrective. Right? So there's your wave, there's your corrective, and then your impulse comes right after, the wave 5. So then you zoom out. You double top. You can even say 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this is big consolidation. Bam. Right up. Right? And then you could say it starts a fresh 5 wave. 1, 2, 3. And then this is the corrective 4 again. So let's get the arrow out. So if we're trying to say like wave 4 is these big corrective bunches. Like there's 4. Out. Right? Now you go out again. Up. Consolidate. Up. Back down. Now again, you get this big wave 4 corrective, and this was an extended one, and you do it all the time. We keep doing it every way through the pattern. Then all of a sudden here, you've worked your way through 2014 and the 2017. Now you're coming back into 2021, right before the breakout in 2020. Another consolidation, huge wave up, back to corrective, huge consolidation, huge wave up. Now the only difference here is we haven't come all the way back down, but now look. And this is where I find it interesting, and it's very, 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 very positive for us if it does play out like this. So again, huge consolidation. Up 1, back 2, up 3, corrective 4, and then if it shoots out. So we have, again, this channel that forms. This time it's a downward channel. But you're getting these big consolidatory zones, and we don't know how long it expands. Maybe it expands out farther. Maybe it continues on. But this is the first time ever that this consolidation zone maintain now, and it's still over $2 even after it came down to the bottom. But you start to get these consolidation zones. So if this is a wave 4 and then eventually wave 5, that's where you're going to get the biggest impulse of them all. And I only say that because we've been doing this since 2014, and this is the first time we've stayed in this, let's say the supply zone over $2. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. So if you can maintain this, now all of a sudden you've got an area right around like $1.77 up to the all-time highs would be a range bound, but it's nice to be on the top end. We'll divulge more into this in the live. I would love to know what everybody thinks, especially about this take of it. But we're in the wave 4 corrective, and we're very close. If we don't break down from $1.77, let's say, we are very close to wave 5. And the way it's lining up, this is the first time we've done it over $2, so it's pretty amazing. So I'd love to hear your comments. I'm XRP Future Millionaire. I'm going to leave it at that. Don't forget to give thanks to the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ here on this Sunday morning. Stay humble, show humility. Don't let your emotions dictate your response. And I hope you watch through the 23 minutes because there was a lot of information jammed in there.